Irashaimase! Hello and welcome to Fataris' Kitchen. I'm your host, Chef Fataris. It's time once again for Shoot 'em Up Saturday, and on the menu this week we have Shockwave Triggers. What kind of taste will it have? Let's get cooking and find out! From developer Shina Real Arts, Shockwave Triggers released in October of 2025 for the PC via Steam, and the developer has noted they plan to bring the title to consoles in the future. For the purposes of today's review, we are playing this on a Steam Deck. This title is a classic style vertical scroller bullet hell from the solo developer behind Wings of Blue Star. So if you like indie shoot 'em ups with a hand-drawn art style and a little bit of a psycho feel to it, this is definitely one I can recommend. I've had a lot of fun with it, though I will have to say it is a bit on the buggy side, especially playing two-player. Here we find ourselves at the main menu, but before we dive into the game itself, let's look under the bonus menu real quick. Here you'll find the online leaderboard. In addition to that, you also find the game shop, where we can use crystals we collect in-game to unlock modes like Boss Rush or purchase additional continues. Now, under the main menu, we can either choose to play the game in two-player, but I have had some rather buggy experiences with that one, so for our purposes today, it is going to be a single-player playthrough. So, selecting Arcade, we're taken to the difficulty selection, and I do have to say I love the names of the difficulty selection here. We have Bullet Heaven, Bullet Normal, Bullet Challenge, and Bullet Hell. For our purposes today, though, we will be playing under Bullet Heaven. Once you've selected your difficulty, we're taken to the character select. There are two characters to choose between, and each has their own unique playstyle. We'll be playing Amira as she's the more orthodox of the two characters, but I will explain a little bit about the other character's kit as well. So selecting your character, we're taken to the world map and we dive into the first stage. So one thing to note, the game does have 6 stages, and overall this is a little bit of a shorter shoot 'em up experience, though given the price point, it's definitely still has the content to make it more than worth your money in my opinion. So this is a standard vertical scroller as far as your movement is concerned, and one thing to note before we get into the rest of the review, the game does support Tate, so if that's important to you, then rest easy as there is a mode for that. Now, as far as our attack options are concerned, we have a primary shot as well as a laser, so pretty standard bullet hell fare. The laser does give us focus movement, so if you're looking to slow things down a little bit to dodge between bullet patterns, then that's how you'll do that. In addition to that, we also have a bomb. The bomb in this one is a little unique with the way that it works. So it creates a shockwave, and that shockwave will turn all the bullets that it encounters into crystals, so that's one way to aim for a high score. In addition to your bomb creating shockwaves, when you defeat enemies, depending on the size of the enemies, you'll also get a shockwave from the enemies, and there's actually a really cool after effect from that as well, that it can be hard to go and see, but it's definitely a great little bit of animation to check out. And between your bomb creating the crystals as well as the enemy's own shockwaves creating crystals, that's how you collect the crystals and ultimately earn a lot of points. Now we find ourselves at the first boss, and the bosses are relatively fun to fight as well. Each boss will have a multi-phase fight ahead of you, and it just depends on the boss. So we'll usually have parts that we have to take off, like these bolts on either side of this mech to start the fight with. You can either use your laser or your primary shot. For Amira, I don't feel there's a whole lot of difference, but for the other character, Turbo B, things definitely do feel a little bit stronger with like your primary shot. Now when we get to this part of the phase, I'll try and speed things up by using the shockwave to deal more damage and destroy those drills as well as that cannon, and we now find ourselves fighting the primary core of this boss. Once the boss is defeated, we'll be taken to our bonus stage, or bonus results anyway, and we'll get a final stage score based off of these criteria. And in addition, we'll also have the option to choose some bonuses, so you can pick up additional crystals, full power your shot, which is actually very useful for Turbo B, and or you can also get additional specials, so basically bombs, which are really useful for Amira. So one thing I didn't go and talk about with Amira's bombs is you can earn additional bombs with that yellow meter next to her character portrait. The way you fill that up is by grazing bullets. There's a little circle around your character, and that circle will turn yellow or red if you're within the correct graze distance, and that meter will increase if you're not already at full bombs. At least if you're playing this character. So talking about Turbo B, one of the things that's really neat about him is rather than having charges that you collect or earn, his bomb, or rather Shockwave, works by charging up. So you charge it up, then when it's at full power, you can then save that charge and use it when you need to, and it will have a small cooldown and you'll be able to use it again. So in theory, just as long as you have the timing right, you'll be able to use that Shockwave infinitely, which is definitely something that's fun. In addition to that, his shot works differently. So instead of collecting power-ups that power up the shot to its maximum level, the way that his shot works is that it powers up as you defeat enemies. So the more enemies you defeat, the more it powers up until it hits max level. So that's one of the reasons why I think it's actually pretty useful to be able to purchase and power up, or rather choose the full power up at the end of the fight. It's a little bit difficult depending on where you're at stage wise to fully level up his shot. So should you go and run out of lives, which are displayed over there on the left with the circle icons under the character portrait, then you can continue based off of the number of continues you have. You initially start with 2 continues, but as I noted, you can purchase additional credits in the game shop using the crystals that we've been collecting from the bosses. And with that, that's Shockwave triggers served up for your enjoyment. So those are the basic mechanics you have for the game. As far as the minus flavors are concerned, really the only real big problem I've had with the title so far is just the fact that things have been on the buggier side. Even playing it single player, there have been situations where I've run into audio glitches, places where sometimes I'm getting stuck in menus, or the game is just froze upon starting another stage. And playing it in 2-player co-op, at least on a Steam Deck, there have been situations where the game's hard locked, or even had soft locks where one player was already out of continues, so they were game over, but then starting a new stage they were back again, and when the other character ran out of lives, the game just ended up soft locking and continuing on without us being able to exit, so we had to close the software at that point. But those bugs aside, I've actually had a lot of fun with this game. So on the plus flavor side of the things, one of the things that I think is really great about Shinu Real Arts titles is the hand-drawn art. In this case specifically, the backgrounds I've really enjoyed. So that's a huge plus for this particular title, and if that's you like supporting an indie title, this is definitely one I can recommend for that. It's also it's great to have an unlock mode available like the shop, and ultimately this is a solid bullet hell that will, especially on the higher difficulties, will provide some fun patterns that are unique to go and play through, and in my opinion, worth your time. So there you have it. Shockwave triggers served up for your enjoyment, a recommendation from the chef. And with that, we find ourselves at the end of this week's episode of Shoot 'em Up Saturday. As always, we want to thank you so much for joining us. We hope you have a wonderful week yourself, and we look forward to seeing you again next time.